Hello and welcome back to Jenna Gets Creative. We're going to do something a little bit different today. Some of my friends in the Art Addicts Alliance group suggested that I make a tutorial on setting up a Redbubble listing, so that's what I'm going to do. Redbubble is one of many print-on-demand merchandise websites where you can upload your artwork, and if items sell with your design on them, you earn a royalty. You retain your copyright, you don't have to stock inventory or do any shipping, and you get paid out periodically through PayPal. You won't get rich off services like this, but if you set up many passive income streams, it can really add up. And of course, your success depends on how well you market yourself. If you just let your designs sit without any help, you won't sell many. If you promote your shop or your items, you'll do better. That's true of any print-on-demand site, not just Redbubble, and many of the tips and tricks I'm about to share regarding prepping and uploading your artwork will apply to other sites as well. The workflow of uploading and tweaking your design on products will just be a little bit different at each service. Personally, I also use Zazzle, ArtPal, and Teespring. I've already logged into my Redbubble account, but registering and logging in is quite simple and straightforward. Some services have several different pay options. Redbubble only pays out through PayPal, so make sure you've got an account with them as well. When you're ready to upload your artwork to put on merchandise, locate and click on the Add New Work button. If you've already uploaded a design, you'll see a second upload option that will make all the same edits you made last time right away, so the workflow is faster if the next design you're uploading will need the same settings. This is particularly helpful if you're doing a series of the same design in different colors, similarly shaped and sized designs in a set, things like that. For this tutorial, we're going to start fresh, so I'm selecting a default upload option over here on the left. The design I'll be uploading is this lorikeet illustration I did as a test run with the Spectrum Noir Illustrator markers from the Jazzy Art Box last year. On the first layer, you can see what it looked like fresh off the scanner, and the second layer is the color-corrected version with the signature visible for all of the regular art print type options. Layer 3 is exactly the same thing, but cut out in a transparent layer. Some merch items like stickers, clear phone and tablet cases, shirts with different fabric color options, and so on will look best with a transparent background to your design, so you aren't printing an awkward white rectangle. It helps to leave a white edge or stroke, especially if you plan to activate any sticker printing options. Layer 4 is an offset pattern of 2 copies of the cutout design, scaled down slightly with one flipped on the horizontal plane. I like to do interesting arrangements like this for the tiling options in Redbubble's design system. Layer 5 is another pattern option with 2 smaller cutouts lined up side by side and facing opposite directions. All of these have been saved as high-quality PNG files, and the full-size versions were not shrunk down at all from the original pixel dimensions of the scan file. For best printing results, you want your images as large as possible so there's more pixels to work with. Definitely don't artificially increase your file's size, that runs the risk of distorting it, but don't shrink it down. Also, side tip, these are not the files you want to upload to your blog. Upload much smaller files saved as medium quality JPEG files, so if anyone snags them from you, they won't be high enough quality to print and sell. So now that you've got your files, go ahead and click the Upload to All Products option. I like to start with the full-size transparent option, as that's the one I'll leave in place on the most products. Once your image file uploads, you'll first be prompted to give your design a title, some tags, and a description. Personally, I like to give my design a descriptive name and include the year I made it. In the tags box, you get to include up to 15 tags separated by commas. These are words and phrases you think people might be searching for that are relevant to your design. This is a lorikeet, so I tagged it with lorikeet, parrot, bird, and I also tagged some of the main colors. In the description box, tell your potential customers a little bit about the design. I like to take the opportunity to mention the YouTube video they can find the design in if it's one I filmed for the channel. You'll also notice there's an option to choose your design's default background. It defaults to white, and I never change this, but you certainly can if you think a different color would work best on most items. Once you've filled in the piece's information, it's time to preview and modify all of the merchandise options. This is all done on the same page, which is really nice. I'm going to show you the options for every single item, but I may not talk about every single one because some of them get repetitive. The very first item is the standard print clothing group. There are 11 different items you're setting the rules for all at once here, so be careful. It's not just the standard t-shirt. Note that this option is usually enabled by default, but you can turn off all 11 items at once by clicking the green Enabled button to disable the group. Click the Edit button to open the editing options in a drop-down. You can physically click and drag the design to move it within the printing confines shown as the dotted box, and you can use the center design vertical and horizontal buttons to realign after you drag the design around. Note that in some editing modules, these are their own menu options, and in some, like this screen, they're sub-items of the centering menu option. You can change the default color of the shirt here as well. I like to leave it white, but changing it temporarily will help you see if you're cutting off any white edges on your design. See the checkbox tabs on the top left side of the editing menu panel? Click the lower checkbox to open the items menu and use this to turn individual listing types on and off. In the main clothing group, all 8 adult size options will be enabled by default, and all 3 kids clothing options will be disabled. Change these settings as you like. This is also the panel where you can change the price markup percentage for individual items if you wish. The markup percentage is how much more Redbubble will charge above their base price for an unprinted item, and this is what your royalty comes from. Hitting the Edit button again will close the editing panel, and all changes you made will stay in place. You can also close the editing panel by clicking the Save Changes button at the bottom. I don't typically like doing that because the screen won't jump back up to the row you were looking at, so it can be disorienting. While we look at the other 2 options in this row, I just wanted to mention the markup percentage option again. You can use the markup option to change your royalty payout and potentially make more money, but keep in mind Redbubble and similar platforms are bursting at the seams with designers, so if your product is more expensive than 20 other similar designs, you're not going to sell anything. Don't get greedy. On the flip side, if you decrease that markup to undercut other designers, keep in mind the difference comes out of your potential earnings, not Redbubble's. I typically just leave the markup settings as they are. Moving on to the second row, we have most of the options with the different collar and sleeve colors that you cannot change. I don't like the way a lot of designs end up looking on these, so I tend to leave them disabled, but we'll play with all 3 so you can see what they look like and see me playing with some of the different features. If you also don't like the black sleeves, keep in mind that one of the regular or large print clothing items in the top row has a sub-item called 3/4 sleeve ball tee, and that also has black sleeves. The t-shirt dress is a good first opportunity to show you the built-in pattern options. I'm going to scale down the size of the design and use the offset repeat tiling option. I'll then click to drag it around so that the center row of birds is well positioned and scroll up so you can see what it looks like on the preview dress. The A-line dress is a much nicer option for a dress product if you want to include one. The t-shirt dress really only works if you've got a very long, large image that works well as a graphic tee design but also fits on the longer dress. With the A-line dress, I'll demonstrate using the Replace Image option in the editing screen to swap out my default design for my offset pattern file. The editing panel will close while the new file uploads. I like to get several image replacements uploading at once and edit another item option while I wait. Next to the A-line dress is the sticker listings group. If you want a cutout sticker or even a sheet of multiple items, you do need to upload a file with a transparent background here. It will put a small white border around any non-transparent portions of the file for the sticker on its own, but in order to ensure that your design will appear well centered within its cut lines, adding a white stroke on your own helps a lot. If you decide to upload a completely filled in rectangle design for one large non-shaped sticker, be sure to turn off the transparent sticker item option. The phone cases group has two items, a general iPhone case option and a general Android case option. Customers will select more specific models when they purchase, but keep in mind that the top third is generally where the camera cutout will be, and move or resize your design accordingly. In the next row, you'll find the phone wallet cases. These are the fake leather cases that fold around the phone like a book cover and have card slots in the front flap. The inside dotted lines represent the sewn seams and the fold lines on the case, and the gray stripe represents an elastic strap that is used to hold the case closed. While the alternate image file is uploading, I'll mess with the neighboring items. These are the couch-sized throw pillow and a larger floor pillow. The side-by-side pattern file I made happens to work out almost perfectly with the wallet case, so I'll leave it as is, but this is one of the listings I usually spend the most time fussing with. In the next row, we start seeing some of the art printing options. These are the listings where I like to use the full-size file with my signature in place and no transparent background. Background transparency doesn't matter as much here in the art print listings, but you definitely don't want to leave it transparent further down on the canvas, wood panel, and metal print listings. On those, you want a defined background and just let any extra space at the edges be filled in by the natural color of the material you're printing on, kind of like a built-in matting effect. The third item group in this row previews as a shower curtain, which you may or may not want to use, but remember this group also contains duvets and comforters, which are really nice. You can't set the pattern specifications for those and the curtains separately, so just turn the curtain option off if you don't want it, but do leave the overall group enabled if you want to sell the bedding. This group is almost always going to be an option where you want to play around with the repeat tiling options. You'll notice this group has a big purple new marker on it right now. Don't get confused once you've been on the platform for a while and you see that pop up on the preview, but it's something you've definitely 100% for sure already seen before. Sometimes they add sub-items to the group but leave the preview as an item you're familiar with. In this case, duvets are the new item at the moment. Moving on to the coffee mugs and travel mugs, pay special attention to the additional preview items at the bottom of the editing screen for a better idea of how your designs will look at different viewing angles around the mugs. The coffee mug is a good opportunity for a wide design, but the travel mug, not so much. I almost never actually enable the pants because this is an item where you really have to design specifically for the pants, but I'll play around with it real quick for the sake of demonstrating it. The skirt can also be a touchy item if you're not designing specifically for clothing. In this case, I think my own offset design file scaled down and repeated with the offset tiling option will work, When I get back to tweaking it, take note of how I dragged it around so that there's a bird head centered on the waistband. We're also going to get the next two going while my file uploads. The items in this row, the drawstring bag and the notebooks, are pretty straightforward. I just want to demonstrate that on the hardcover notebook option, you have an additional repeat option that's unique to this listing. You can duplicate the design side by side on the two covers. You can also set a background color, so if you want the spine of the book to be a different color, use your non-transparent full-size design. Just skipping down to the clock while that design re-uploads on the notebook. If you want your clocks to have numbers, you'll need to have a specific design file for that. You can download design templates for each item in the editing panels, so take advantage of that if clocks are an item you really want to sell. Customers can change all your frame in hand color settings, but it's nice that Redbubble lets you set the default colors. Back to the hardcover notebook to demonstrate that two-panel design option. Moving on to the rest of the options in the clock row. For both of these, you'll want to switch to your file with the signature on it, as these are more art prints. The first is printed on an artboard. The second is a product grouping, including acrylic blocks of various sizes and also coasters. Why are these grouped together for settings? Because they're both perfectly square? In the next row, we have an odd collection of items. The first listing is for both wall tapestries and throw blankets. Even if you don't want a wall tapestry, the throw blankets are really nice. If your design is massive or tiles well, I highly recommend enabling this listing for the throw blanket, and just individually turn off the tapestry if you don't want to use it. This row also has bath mats and metal water bottles. If you left the shower curtain option turned on and you chose to tile repeat the design on the bath mat, I recommend making sure that they match. I didn't this time because I want to demonstrate the different options, but keep in mind that making the patterns different between the two items might deter some buyers who were considering buying both in the same design, but aren't now because the different tiling options is going to drive them nuts. In the final row, we have the fanciest art prints grouping, the cotton tote bags, and the socks. The print grouping is for canvases and wood panels, and this is where it really matters with the transparent or not transparent background files. The canvases are going to start at a fair size, and this design is relatively small, so it doesn't even come close to filling the space. In this case, you could choose to artfully place it in a corner or leave it small and centered and embrace the empty space, but I'm just going to turn this grouping off and not list these. When you're happy with all of your listing options, do all the necessary box ticking at the bottom of the screen and click the Save Work button to get this design in the publication queue. Your design will be live shortly. When it saves, you'll load to a screen where you get to preview your design on all of the item listings you left enabled. Feel free to preview these item pages, share your listings, and download the sample image files from here, or go back and edit the design file to tweak things you don't like about the listings now that you've seen the fully rendered sample images. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. If you want to see more tutorials for other merch sites I use or anything else, let me know in the comments down below. And if you like the art you saw, subscribe and come back for my regular upload days for lots more art. I upload twice a week at minimum on Tuesdays and Thursdays, with bonus uploads some weeks. Most of the time my content is art time-lapse videos with commentary or tutorial voiceovers. Bye guys!